Okay, everybody, it is me, Gregory Mannarino. I have been in computer hell this morning, so I do apologize for this video getting out kind of late, but I guess better late than never. People, let's talk, you and me. Before we even talk about the markets, I want to go over a few things with you that I do not believe are going to shock you or surprise you in any way. Let's start off with the economic news. So, mortgage demand now falls to a 22-year low as the middle class continues to be strangled to death by surging inflation, which allow me to let you in on a little secret here. In no way is this done. Central banks are continuing to inflate. They're not going to stop. As a matter of fact, this scheme here, the crisis to crisis to crisis scheme, just took on yet another pretty big leg higher. You know how this works. The new economic model, going from this crisis to that crisis, whatever it might be. Well, we got two more things. So it appears that, our government, which is really not the government, is seeking to push or pull another $52 billion out of wherever it comes from to subsidize big business. I'm talking about semiconductors. I thought this is supposed to be a free market economy. Why is it that the government is continuing to subsidize more and more big businesses? Do you realize that big pharma is subsidized by the government? Do you realize that big oil is subsidized by the government, and now it's going to be semiconductors subsidized by the government? What does that sound like to you? Fascism, maybe? Oh, yeah. The merger between corporations and a government entity. But you have to understand, this is not the government. The central banks, the Federal Reserve here in this case, is the government. And they're going to utilize any mechanism possible to pull more cash into the now. And let me ask you, when a central bank, because we don't have it here in the United States, we don't have $52 billion to fund, to subsidize semiconductors, or anything else for that matter. Where does the cash come from? Oh yeah, that's right. It's got to be created by central banks here. No, it gets better. We heard from the World Bank. Now the World Bank is calling, you ready for this? Calling on developed nations to provide more debt relief for impoverished nations. And they're saying without more debt relief for impoverished nations, the global poverty issue is going to get worse. You see, what you're not allowed to know is, again, and we covered this week twice already, 75% of middle income earners here in the United States are already saying they can't survive. They can't make ends meet. Global poverty, which includes here in the United States, no matter how much cash they want to throw at it, it's not going to be enough. It's just a mechanism to borrow from the future, and yet again, in greater and greater amounts, you know this, and that's how it's going to play out here. Every mechanism you can dream about and think about is going to be utilized. So it's interesting how this is being sold. So with regard to the $52 billion subsidy for semiconductors, it's being sold as, so we can compete with China. Oh, you mean communist China? How does that work? Oh, lovely. Thought we had a free market economy. And with regard to the World Bank, it's being sold, that we have to provide more debt relief, because without it, global poverty is going to get worse. How about it's getting much worse no matter what happens? And this is just going to allow the system, again, to borrow more cash from the future, but you knew that already. So right off the bat, we got mortgage demand at a 22-year low as inflation continues to surge out of control, and in no way, shape, or form are we peaking. They're going to try to sell you that lie. Don't buy it. Central banks, as you are well aware of, are continuing to buy it all. Unlimited bond buying by the European Central Bank. Did you happen to look at the 10-year yield here this morning? 2.95. Who's buying the debt? Well, it's not you. It's not me. It's not the average guy or the average girl. This is the Fed. Okay, they're buying it all. You're seeing it with your own eyeballs. I don't care what their public balance sheet says. It's in your face. This is the Fed. They're buying it all. They're continuing to inflate and create more inflation, in fact, going out of their way to do it. You know how this works. By raising the overnight rate, the federal funds rate, incrementally, in no way, shape, or form is this going to prevent inflation from surging higher. But that's the lie that is being sold to people right now, and it's out of control. So that's the story so far this morning. You know what I want to do here is throw an eye over at the stock market. So yesterday's rally, pretty big, pretty nice rally, lovely. We know what's driving this. It's central banks, but don't call it quantitative easing. Do not call it quantitative easing because it's not, even though it certainly is. It's QE on like hyper steroids, but you're not allowed to know that either. No, you're never going to hear this. All you're going to hear is the deceptions, the distractions, and the bullshit from the mainstream media. All right, stock futures are slightly lower this morning. I already told you 10-year yield 2.95. Lovely. Okay, fantastic. Fed's buying all the debt. The relative strength of the dollar is slightly stronger this morning. Cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin doing very, very well yet again. Gold and silver just about at the flat line, and WTI crude about $102 a barrel. That's the story this morning. That's where we stand. Let me ask you, while we're on the topic, are you for or against government subsidies for big pharma, for big oil, and now, of course, semiconductors here? Do you think the government in a real free market economy, for which we don't have it, this is a managed economy, being obviously the economy is run by the Federal Reserve, who is the government. They run it all. They control the financial system. Central banks around the world have unified. They are now the one world government that we've all been warned about. And they're going to exert more power on everyone. They're going to do this by continuing to inflate, continuing to strangle to death an entire class of people globally. This is the middle class here, fostering a wealth transfer up to the one percenters like they always do. And just ignore, when you hear any world leader talking about how much they care about, equality, with regard to wealth equality, they're laughing. They're laughing right in your face. No, it has nothing to do with that. You see, it's always the same story. Wealth always goes up. It never goes down. There's no trickle-down effect. It's whoever came up with that, it was selling you a lie as well. There's no trickle-down. It's just pushing up. And with regard to the mechanisms right now being put in place with this another $52 billion to subsidize semiconductors, and the World Bank calling on developed nations around the world who are all destitute. I mean, the United States here, we're the largest debtor nation in the history of the world. To throw more cash at trying to save impoverished nations, we can't even save ourselves. All right, all this is a mechanism again. From the crisis to crisis to crisis mechanism. That's the new economic model. You know that. Oh, there's a crisis. We got to throw tens of billions of dollars at it. Oh, there's another crisis. Let's throw another several $100 billion at it. Oh, the war getting worse. Let's throw another several $100 billion over at that too. Oh, there's another disease process and another variant. Oh, it needs more money funding, and we're going to fund it, and it's going to make everything great. People, look, you know how this works better than anyone if you've been following this blog here. One more thing. I want to give a shout out to Joe. Got your book. I got your book. This is a publication, a new book out here. Hey, nice picture. There he is. Joe. I was going through this book last night, and it is fantastic. You're right. This is the stuff they don't want you to know. And so I want to give you a shout out here. So people, pick it up. I always say, support each other. Well, support this guy. And like I said, I was just going through this last night, and I can tell you that we are on the same page. There's no doubt about it. All right, look, people, that's it. That's the story this morning. But I want to hear from you. Do you believe, here's the question yet again, that government should be subsidizing big businesses? Or should we should we have a free market economy? Either you have a free market economy or you don't. What this is, yet again, is another move towards hardcore fascism. When you have government entities merging with corporations, it's fascism. Period. The end. That's the definition of it. Are you surprised to hear about that? No, I don't think you are. All right, people, look, that's it. This guy here loves you a lot. I will see you at the end of the day. Please comment. And, well, that's it.